wasn't actually a shot at Bieksa. It's just like it happened. You have to refer to it.
Yes, very fair. I'm with you on that one. And the one thing with Marchand is like, and it started really, you got the sense during all the great media he did through the Four Nations, and now during this playoff run, he's talked about this stage of his career, and he's not the only player that arrives at this conclusion when he gets to kind of where Marchand is at here now, but appreciating the moments that he once used to take for granted. And it's not that he didn't appreciate it maybe necessarily back then, but he says as a younger guy, you're so wired all the time and focused on, okay, what's next, as opposed to taking a deep breath and just enjoying where you're at for a few moments. And that whole headspace has really fueled, I think, what's been great about him. And, you know, you go back to the Dairy Queen comment with the interview we did with him last round that caught like wildfire online. And as you're kind of scrolling through some of the comments that come in from fans from around the world, how many of them are like, man, am I actually starting to like Brad Marchand? Or I used to really hate Brad Marchand, but you know what? Now I'm kind of starting to be a fan of him. It's becoming the ultimate heel to babyface turn, unless you're a fan of the Oilers, of course. But it's just been a remarkable run that he continues to be on.
Kyle, you're more of a contemporary wrestling fan than I am. Most of my wrestling knowledge is old. What would be a comparable heel to babyface turn that Brad Marchand is doing in the NHL right now?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great ones, and it's a little bit different because he started as the ultimate babyface, but Hulk Hogan, right? He goes NWO, he leaves for WCW, he comes back, and at WrestleMania 18 in Toronto, he fights The Rock in the main event. And it was like during that match, what started as Hogan heel, Rock face, by the end it had flipped. And it was like the WWE crowd had fallen back in love with Hogan over the course of that match, which I don't think the company, the wrestlers, not many people saw going into that night at then Skydome. That's one that comes to mind. And I will say there was a good 10, 15 years that I was kind of removed from the wrestling scene, so I'm sure there's other things that happen in there that the hardcore fans are going, how could you forget about that? So I apologize. I mean, there's been some great turns the other way, but it's just not as often that you see like the ultimate heel suddenly turn face.
Say this, some of the rumors about what's going to be available for Marchand after this season, going to be interesting.
As he told you, everything's on the table.
Yeah, going to be interesting.
And did you see Katie Engelson, the great ringside host for the Panthers, put out the report after the game that apparently, not before Game 1, but before Game 2, there was another run to Dairy Queen for members of the Panthers in Edmonton.
We have to start doing our own runs to Dairy Queen.
Yeah,
the Sportsnet Dairy Queen run. There was also a great shot at the end of the game. Kevin Marchand, Brad's dad, shaking Brian McDavid, Connor's dad, after it was over, shaking his hand. It's just a
Very
great shot. I mean, I don't know what else you can say about these two games. McDavid, Draisaitl had an absolutely incredible goal, but all the top players are playing great. McDavid's playing great. Draisaitl's playing great. Seth Jones is playing great. You know, Barkov. I will never question his will and his desire. He hasn't yet put his stamp on the series.
Yeah,
Reinhart,
I'd say that whole line yet.
You're right. Reinhart, you know, he had a chance to score in overtime. He didn't score. I can't help but look at Reinhart and think whatever that injury is that he came back from, shockingly only missing a game, it's still a problem. Like, obviously, whatever Tkachuk is dealing with, he's still not anywhere near 100%. I can't help but watch Reinhart and think he's not anywhere near 100% either. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way it looks like. Seth Jones is playing phenomenal. Forsling is having an unbelievable series. Verhaeghe, I think, has been really good. I mean, we all know what Bennett is doing. Bennett is having an epic postseason. Bouchard is playing fantastic. Bouchard has been excellent for Edmonton. Kane has been really good for Edmonton. A lot of guys in this series have been really good. I think if you're Florida, the one guy you're looking at and you're saying there's room to go here for what his ceiling is, what he looks like at his best, it's Barkov. I think that's the one thing. If you're the Panthers and you're going home and you're saying we're tied at 1-1 and Barkov has kind of had the start he's had, you're feeling A, really good about it that you're tied, and B, you're feeling really good that he's too skilled, he's too talented, he's too determined. It's not going to last like this. Both goalies have had moments, and Bobrovsky and Skinner made some unbelievable saves in this one. Skinner also got some incredible luck, but that's part of it. It goes your way sometimes. But neither goalie has yet really put their stamp on the series. Neither goalie has really outdueled the other one, and you expect at some point that's going to occur. The bottom line for me, Kyle, is that we're all on a great journey together. I don't think there's a lot to analyze yet here. I mean, the one thing is with the long change in the second periods of the first two games, Edmonton hasn't been very good. I think they've got to fix that. But there's not a lot to complain about in the first two games, and you really feel we're on a fantastic journey together. I thought it was interesting, the refereeing and the officiating from game one to game two. Game one, Bennett gets knocked onto the goalie, and the goal counts. Game two, Bennett sees that contact, falls on or feels that contact, falls on Skinner, and gets a penalty. Now, he did an intermission interview with Renaud Lavoie of TVA, and he said he was surprised to get that penalty. Now, I understand why he would be surprised to get that penalty, because he didn't get it in game one. You know me, I've been consistent. You've got to protect the goalies. There were some other situations later in that game where Bennett was very, very careful about where he was in relation to Skinner. I always think you have to protect the goalies, but I think it's really interesting that they clearly dialed that back. They said, you almost wonder now if Edmonton had challenged that kind of a goal in game two, would it have gone the other way?
Yeah, that would have, we had talked about it after game one. If that's going to be the standard, you've kind